Okay, so we're going to start going through some stuff in Visual Studios with C#. And so first step is obviously to open Visual Studios, and then you're going to come down here to select Create New Project. And then you'll get a bunch of options. Mine might be somewhat auto filled out, yeah. But if you come down from yours will probably look like this. And if you select C# within your list, you come across here and you select console, we'll get a much shorter list. And we just want the first one here, console applications, okay? And then you get a bunch of things here, and you're going to name it. So I'm just going to name mine Lesson 1 down here, and then you can click here and choose where you save it. So I might save mine in my Year 11 computing file, and maybe I'll even make its own folder for itself. Lesson 1. There we go. Okay. And then you can click down here and go next. Just go straight up to next again. And we will get it to create our first project. Okay, cool. So not going to get into too much detail, but we start with here a namespace. We have a class and a method, and then what happens within this method. Now, within this method, we have console.writeLine hello world, which is like your default kind of quintessential code thing that a lot of people do as their first thing. Now, the static void main method is kind of unique in the class program in a way that this is always the first class and method that will run when you run your application. So regardless of how many you make a bunch of new classes and methods, you need to kind of substantiate or initiate those within this method, okay? But we're not going to get into too much detail about methods and classes and namespaces just yet. We're just going to kind of look at the general outline and look at maybe creating some variables and data types to start with. So I'm just going to show you what we've got here, though, and what that looks like in reality. So, as I said, this method automatically runs when you run the application, and it's going to do what's in this method. So at the moment, we have console.writeLine and hello world. Hopefully a lot of you already kind of have an idea of what that's going to do. But to test our application or we just come up here, and if we click the play button just here, you'll see it'll kind of start building, and then it will run. Okay, and you'll see here we got the hello world, which is what we wrote here in the console.writeLine, and then, a bunch of information about where the application was coming from, and then you press any key and you close this console command window down. And you'll see that if I come in here within the quotations, which tells me I'm writing a string of some form, and I change it to whatever, and run it again, you'll see just here that obviously that changed to that random gibberish that I just wrote. Once again, I can press any key and close that application down. So hopefully that's pretty kind of self-explanatory to everyone. Now, there are a couple of things that I want to kind of go through. So obviously, this tells us that it's a string, okay? And that's kind of an important thing to remember, and string is one of our data types that we've already kind of talked about. So, and we've kind of briefly gone through this, but so if I want to create a variable, I need to start by defining its data type. So it might be an int, and then I name the variable. So we might do something like age, and then we set it to something. So maybe we're going to set it to 12, and then we end with a semicolon. Okay, and so we've now got this age. Now, you're quite often, I'm going to actually zoom in a bit. Sorry, my screen's, hopefully that helps with the seeing of what I'm doing. You'll see here that it's got this green line underneath it, and you'll see that appear when basically you've created a variable and that variable's never been used. So, if we change this here, we can kind of do our first thing is, hello, my name is Brian, and my age is, and then you could do console dot write line, and we can write age. I don't know why I did that just then, sorry. And then go like that. Okay, and so now if we come up, you don't have to put a space here, and then we press play. Oh, we have an error in my build. Oh, because I created a bunch of squiggly brackets before and ruined everything, didn't I? I'm just missing one of these, sorry. And then press play. And then you can see here, hello, my name is Brian and my age is 12. Okay? So hopefully that was pretty self-explanatory, but we're going to quickly break down what just happened there. And what just happened there was, hopefully I was trying to move this, but it's not letting me move it. Right, there we go. What we happened here is we created a variable. We told the computer that it was an int data type. And we can see here that we talked about this briefly before, but the int is assigned 32 bits of memory. We named that variable age, and then we assigned it the value of 12. Okay? And then so over here we wrote console write line. We didn't have to write out 12. We just can just write the name of the variable, and it knows that that variable is assigned to 12, so it prints 12, which is cool. Okay, and obviously we wrote console write line, hello, my name is, and we've kind of got a bit of a conversation going here. And so let's work on then think, okay? Now, I could actually do this in one line too, and we're going to go through that. Now, obviously, we can't just write age here, my name is age, and run that. Because if we just ran that, we're just going to get my name is age. Because the computer still thinks this is a string. So what we have to do is we have to tell the computer that this age isn't just part of the string, but actually represents age, the variable. And the way we do that, sorry, pardon me. So we start by putting a dollar sign. Oh, not an S. Why do I put an S? A dollar sign out the front here, and then putting this age within brackets, like such. Our squiggly brackets again, right? So now if I delete this line just here, and we run it, we will get our hello, my name is Brian, and my age is 12. Awesome, right? So, hopefully that wasn't too quick for everyone. Just want to go quickly that if you're referencing a variable within your console write line, what did I do? That was an accident, I just dragged it. If you want to, pardon me, if you want to reference a variable within your console write line, outside of the quotation marks, you need to add this little dollar sign that tells the code or the computer that what you're going to reference a variable within your code here, and then you surround that variable's name with our famous little squiggly brackets. And as you can see within Visual Studio, if you're using the same kind of layout as me, it'll come blue, which is letting you know that you're all done good. Okay, so that's the first thing I wanted to go through. There's another really kind of simple thing I want to go through, that if you wanted to do, instead of saying end, we want to put this on a new line, what you can do is you can replace that with, I never know which one's backslash and which one's forward slash, but /n. So I reckon that's forward slash. Yeah, /n. This directional slash. And then you'll notice if we press console line, you'll see it says, hello, my name is Brian and my age is 12. Now the reason there's a space there is because obviously there's a space here. So if I remove that space there, and I know it looks weird, and press play, you'll now see that there is no space here, right? Because obviously it just takes it to a new line. That's something you kind of have to get used to a little bit, though, sometimes, is that it doesn't look like it's written properly there, but you need to think about how spacing works for the computer, okay? And obviously, you know, if you could be fair, you could put a full stop and a full stop, and all, oh, sorry, I'm misclicking all over the shop today. And you could run it, and you'll get your full stops and all that kind of stuff. I don't know why I put a full stop, but, there, I should put it, there. and you get your full stops and all that kind of stuff, okay? So that's kind of our first kind of use of the variable. Okay, so obviously, I just realized just then, that's Brain. It's totally not Brian, is it? I don't know, maybe it is Brian. Anyway, so now instead of just using saying your name here, which is apparently Brain, we could then create a variable that says the name. Now, it's important that remembering that we can write 12, but if we're creating a string and we're calling it my name, and then we're setting it to something, we need to put our little quotation marks here so that the computer knows that my name is a string, and we're going to change our name to Jeff because I'm 100% positive that spells Brain. Okay, so, and then just once we've already started this dollar sign, obviously that means we can just simply go in here and we can put in these little things and then write in here my name. And we're done and dusted. Make sure we do that. I don't know. I've zoomed in so the spacing looks weird. And now if you click on play here, you can see, hello, my name is Jeff. My age is 12. Right? Awesome. And you can kind of see that we're starting to get somewhere. We've created 2 variable types. And we're kind of reading those out. And you could do one more just for kind of, the third most popular, float, and we could call it my, I'm trying to spell words now, but I probably, height, and you go equals, and then, I don't know, he's 12 years old, so 1.2 F, yeah? I forgot my little semicolon, remembering that because it's a float, I need to end it in F. And so maybe we're going to go in here, and then we're going to go a new console write line, console.write line, putting I did the wrong brackets again today. I did it the second time. I get so used to doing the other brackets. Console.write line, and then we semicolon it, just so I get rid of the red. And then inside here, we're going to go straight up to putting our dollar sign out the front, because we know we're going to be referencing a variable in it. And then we go, I am, and then we're going to go my name, my height, tall, how tall are you? And then a question mark. Awesome. Okay, so remember we've got the dollar sign out here to tell us that my height is a variable. We've told the computer that it's a float, which means it is a number that has decimal places into it. And then we've got a height, which is 1.20. And now if you write play, you can see that we have, hello, my name is Jeff, my age is 12, and I'm 1.2 tall. How tall are you? Now, obviously, that doesn't make any sense, because we should say, I am 1.2 meters tall. We can run that. And I am 1.2 meters tall. How tall are you? Okay, that's cool. You can see that the console write line is automatic. That's when the separate one's automatically on its own new line. Okay, just also something to think about. Okay, cool. Okay, so obviously at the moment this is all pre-programmed, but we obviously eventually want to get our application to take information from our user. And so we're going to start with 2 options here, right? We're going to start with console dot read, and you have 2 options here. You got read line and read key, okay? So if we go read key here, and then we just close it off, and then end it. Right, here, you got this little console.read key, right? Now, this looks a little weird in this particular case because of the way that we're running it. But if we run the application, you'll see that it goes, hello, my name is Jeff, my age is 12, I am 1.2 meters tall, how tall are you? And it doesn't end the application automatically, because you can see it's waiting for this line console.read key, which is empty, so it has no parameters to it, no condition, right? So it's just waiting to read a key. And you notice if I click a key, it'll then run that line and then end the code, right? So we've got the J there, I clicked a J, it's ended the code, right? Now, we could change this so that it reads a specific key, you know, and that's cool, and then end it after a specific key. Now, that's a little bit more complicated, but you could write while, and then we can enter some curly brackets over here. I spelled while wrong. I did. So you go while. Okay, well, no curly brackets to this. Oh my god. While instead. And then enter some that, and then you go console. We're gonna delete that. Console read dot key, and then we're gonna go exclamation mark equals console key dot enter. And so now what we have here is, instead of just on any key, we're actually looking for a specific key, which is the enter key, basically. So that's not equal is what this little function says, so it keeps on looping until we enter this enter key, basically. So if you press play, you'll see that I can click S and D and nothing happens. Just keep on clicking all these keys, and nothing happens, but I press the enter key and boom, the application ends, okay? So that's our first kind of basic look at taking user input. Now, I do want to say that if this was too much for you, that's okay. I just did want to say that you can make it so that it's looking for a specific input, okay? But there's obviously a kind of somewhat more useful use of this console method, which is console.read line just here. And then you can read a line from a user, okay, which is awesome. There is just a couple of issues with this console.read line, but so now we can do console.read line, which is awesome. Now this will read a line from the user. So I mean, how to use this? So if I create a new variable, and we're going to call it a string, and we're going to call it user, I can spell today, user input 1, and we're not going to allocate it an answer. We might say something like user input 1 equals console.writeLine. Okay? And so now we're taking this little user input and we're saving it to a variable. And then we could probably say console.writeLine, and so now we are going to go, we're writing a line again, and this, put a little dollar sign because we're obviously going to be referencing a variable, putting our quotation marks, and here we go. Wow, you are our squiggly brackets, user input 1, tall, that's amazing. Okay? And so now if we test this new program, we press play, we go, hello, my name is Jeff, my age is 12, I am 1.2 meters tall, how tall are you? And if I write 1.2 and press enter, it says, wow, you are 1.2 tall, that's amazing. Okay? Now, one thing I would say is that it's important to note that that works, obviously. So it took my user input of 1.2, and then it said 1.2 tall, right? And if you come back here, and if I press play again, and I write 4.5 meters, it'll say, wow, you are 4.5 meters tall. That's amazing, right? So, I mean, that's kind of pretty cool, I think. I don't know why I highlighted that white. I'm trying to move it again. So it doesn't need to requiring us to call it. It's treating this like a string, right? I know technically it's a float, like we called the height before a float, right? But in this particular case, it's just assuming it's a string, so you could write anything there, and it's just gonna go, that's a string, okay? And now it might seem, well, I don't care if it's a string. I'm just gonna write it back to them, so it doesn't matter. But if we want to make this code slightly more complicated, we're gonna have to do something that means that it turns it from a string to an int, because you can't really effectively compare strings. And what I mean by that, I'm going to kind of show you. So if I and funny that I say the word if I don't want him to always say that's amazing, and instead we're going to make a judgment call. He's going to make a judgment based on your height, right? So let's start with using our first kind of command structure. So if, notice it's also purple like our previous if structure, and we're going to curly brackets, okay? So every if statement will need your condition and then your two curly brackets where what's going to happen is going to go. So if I go if user input 1 is, yeah. Now, if I put 12, you'll notice an error occurred. Okay, so the reason there's an error is because we can't compare a string to an int. Okay. If I put an F there, you'll notice that it says I now can't compare a string to a float. Then this is an important fact. If I want to compare two things, I need to make sure that they are the same data type in reality, okay? And that's where it gets slightly more complicated. Okay, so how are we going to compare these two things? Now, the easiest way to do that, there are lots of ways to do it, but I'm actually going to use decimal for this one just because it's the easiest way to do it, okay? So we're going to actually, and we're going to remove, and we want to compare it to a decimal, and obviously, well, 12 meters is ridiculous, but let's just go 1.8 meters, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to do a new line. We're going to create a new variable. It's going to be a decimal. We're going to call it user height. We are going to then set it, okay? So the way we're going to set it is we're going to start with convert, okay? So this is a convert. So this is going to change the data type of the variable, of something, right? Now, so if you come straight down here, you can see there's a bunch of different things we can convert it to, and I can convert it to a decimal, okay? And then I just put, open quotations, and we're going to go user input 1, and we're going to do our semicolon. So now I'm taking the variable user inputs, I'm converting it to a decimal, and I'm saving this new user height as a decimal. So now if I come over here and I go user height, you can see no longer any error. I'm now comparing like to like. Now that there's what I mean by there's a couple of different ways to do this. Well, you could have done that at the very beginning. So when you took the user input, I could have initialized that as a decimal at the start, and then converted it to that and stuff. Now, the only reason that, it's just cleaner to write as a string, and that's why I kind of have two ones as string, ones in it as a thing, but it's not a huge deal, but, either or, right? We're choosing to do it this way this particular time. Now, so now we have if user height is greater than 0.18. Now, we want to say that height's amazing, right? So, that's awesome. And now I'm going to put the meters in here now because we're not dealing with a string anymore, so we don't want the user to write meters. Okay? And then down here, we're going to write else. And we're going to write else. I don't know why I put those there. And we're going to do something else, right? So if they're this tall, we're going to say that they're amazing. And I'm just going to Control C, Control V this, and then I'm going to say that it's sad. Okay? Okay. We've got an if and we get an else statement here. So you want to see how the if else's work for the first time. If I press play. If I press test, hello, my name is Jeff. My age is 12. I'm 1.2 meters tall. How tall are you? And if I write 1.7 and press enter, you'll see 1.7. I said, wow, you are 1.7 meters tall. That's sad. Okay? Oh, he's a bit mean to me, right? And now if I press play again, or test again, and I write 1.9, he goes, wow, you're 1.9 meters tall. That's amazing. Okay? So we're obviously checking the two. Okay? Which is cool. Now, obviously, you can kind of see that there's a bit of a bug here, because if I write something that's not a float, the code's just going to error out. I probably did that a bit quickly. But you can see, no, it worked perfectly. The input was the string was not in correct format, right? We can't convert letters to a decimal. Obviously, that makes sense. Okay, and therefore we can't check it. So what do we do in this particular case, right? So if I run it again, and I give us a number again, you'll see that it's all fine when it's a number, right? So what you can do in this particular case is actually kind of cheat. And this is what we're talking about in class today. If I turn this to an if-else, right, and I give it a parameter this time, oh, sorry, I'm doing it again. Else if, and I give it a parameter, and that parameter is user height is less than 1.8. I should probably actually go equal. I always do. It's like I'm really bad at doing it in the right direction. Where it's 1.8 m. I think that's telling me that I did the wrong direction. Is it? Yeah, that was telling me I did. I always never know which way they go around. It's a upside. It's a smiley face. That helps. Anyway, so we're saying now checking if it's equal to or less than 1.8. Right? We're doing this, right? And so, as I said, this is a really cheap beat to stop that bug that was happening before. I've now just added an else statement in, and then I can just say, I don't know, console dot write line, and then I can say, I don't know, do you know how to write ages dummy? Needs to just be a number. And then, you know, just real, as I said, like a real simple fix, right? And then obviously, what you can do in that particular case, you could write the method. So you just do what do I? My head's not in the main brackets. Because in this particular case, thing, and then during else they would restart the code, which wouldn't actually work in this particular case because you're actually not breaking yourself out of this error here, actually, because these are all you're doing the convert here, which is not obviously going to work. So you would need something. You would need to do it another way, but you can rearrange it so that you have if user height, I don't know how you do it. You'd have to problem solve that, but in this particular case, you're obviously this code which would cause the error. I mean, you'll just see if I run it, it's not actually going to work, because if I write a letter, as I said, it's stopping. It's before it even gets to, because it's checking this first. You would need to have something that checks something, like try and move this within the loop. Yeah, basically. Anyway, I don't want to get bogged down in that, but that is kind of what I meant. But in this particular case, you can't work it that way. Yeah. But it is just a cheap way of just resetting a program. Yeah. That's about all I really wanted to go through today. So awesome. So that's it. We got the basics of using if-else loops and some creating variables. Awesome. Thanks for listening. Okay, so I couldn't let it go. Sorry. I just wanted to quickly demonstrate how you would actually, what I meant before about the whole if thing. And so I just quickly wrote this up really quickly for you. Sorry if it confuses some of you. I just want to quickly demonstrate what I meant. So in this particular case here, what we're doing is we're using a try pass. Sorry, pardon me. So here what we're doing is we're going if this decimal named user input, we're trying to pass it as a decimal. So that basically means we're seeing if it will convert to a decimal. If it can convert to a decimal, we're running our code. Else, we're writing the line and then restarting the code. Okay? So don't worry about this whole try passing thing. But basically, we have the convert down now within an if loop, and we're passing it first. So basically, we're attempting to run what we were going to run, and if it runs, we run it. If it doesn't run, the else, we restart. Okay? So you'll see, if it comes here, if I write it a G and press enter, do you know how to write? We got that line. Do you know how to write ages? Dumb. Need to just be a number. And then it restarts the whole thing. Hello, my name is Jeff. How old are you? And then I can write 1.9 and press enter, and it will run the code. So that's it. I'm sorry, I just couldn't let it go. I wanted to quickly run through it, and I haven't done decimal passing in a while. I just needed to make sure I had all the nomenclature right. So it just took me a minute or two. And that's how you kind of do it. Awesome. Yeah, so that's it from me. I hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully it helps, and we can do some activities in class now.